Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce the overweight old sow we're forced to endure. Those words landed like a bucket of ice water over me. There I stood in my deep sapphire gown, the one that cost more than many people's yearly rent, watching Charlotte's new husband, Ryan's bride, wave her champagne glass in my direction while her affluent relatives burst into laughter. Then her father's face drained of color like fresh snowfall. Hold on, aren't you Elizabeth Montgomery, the new CEO at Montgomery Properties? Where are you tuning in from right now? Share your location in the comments, smash that like button, and subscribe for more stories like this. Let me explain how I wound up being labeled a sow at the wedding of my only child. The wedding I had fully funded, right down to the final candle and napkin. 2 hours before that moment, I had been in the church sacristy, fixing Ryan's tie with the pride only a mother can feel. "Thank you for everything, Mom," he murmured, eyes sliding away from mine. I knew the event had cost a fortune. $310,000 precisely. I wasn't keeping score. I watched him adjust the cufflinks that had belonged to his father, the ones worn at our own wedding 34 years earlier, before leukemia claimed him when Ryan was just 13. "Your dad would be beaming right now," I whispered, smoothing his jacket. But as I stood in that grand ballroom, hearing my son's new in-laws ridicule me without restraint, I understood that pride had become an indulgence I could no longer sustain. The Montgomery clan owned nearly half the premium office and retail space across Boston. Reginald Montgomery, Charlotte's father, presided over an empire valued in the billions. What he failed to realize was that his board had elected me CEO just 7 days prior. My first official day would be Monday. "Mrs. Montgomery," Reginald stammered, his flute quivering. I had no clue. Charlotte cut in sharply, puzzled. "No clue about what, Dad?" She glanced between us, her flawless smile wavering. "That Ryan's mother is Elizabeth Montgomery." The hush rolled across the room like red wine soaking white tablecloths. Charlotte's mother, Eleanor, glided forward with the polished grin Society women master early. "My goodness, what a charming coincidence. You happen to share the surname of my husband's firm." "No coincidence," I replied evenly, observing Reginald's complexion shift through every pale shade. "I retained my married name after my husband's passing. Montgomery Properties belonged to his family. When he died, his shares transferred to me. The arithmetic was straightforward, even for champagne-distracted minds. Majority stake, voting control, authority to hire or dismiss anyone at will." Charlotte's laughter vanished. "You're telling me you own Dad's company?" "Not own, sweetheart. Control," I answered, offering the measured smile I reserved for boardrooms. "There's a distinction." Ryan materialized at my side, finally registering the strain. "Mom, everything all right?" I studied my son, the man I had raised solo after losing his father, the one I'd supported through 2 jobs to fund his MBA, the one I'd sacrificed for so he could have every advantage, and noticed he stood a fraction closer to his bride than to me. "Everything's wonderful, darling," I said, touching his sleeve. "I'm simply getting to know your new relatives." Reginald cleared his throat, business instincts surfacing. "Mrs. Montgomery, perhaps we could arrange a discussion next week." "I'd value." "Monday 9 a.m. I interjected smoothly. "My assistant will forward the details." I turned to Charlotte with genuine warmth. "Best wishes on your marriage. I suspect our paths will cross frequently." Walking away, I caught Charlotte hissing to her mother. "Why didn't anyone tell me she mattered?" "We had no idea," Eleanor whispered urgently. "Your father described Ryan's mom as an ordinary middle-class widow." Ordinary middle-class widow. The phrase trailed me into the restroom, where I bolted the door and met my own gaze. The gown was graceful, the jewelry understated yet authentic, my makeup intact despite the emotional tremor. In the mirror stood a woman who had spent 3 decades expanding her husband's legacy. A woman who had single-handedly raised a son, financed his education, his condo, his vehicle, and now his wedding. A woman who had been branded a sow by people unaware she could unravel their entire existence with one decision. Most importantly, I saw someone just beginning to grasp her true strength. My phone vibrated. A message from my assistant. "Board session rescheduled to Tuesday. Urgent personnel matter demands attention Monday." I smiled at my reflection and touched up my lipstick. Monday promised to be unforgettable. The journey to that humiliating instant began 20 months earlier, when I made the error of being overly indulgent with my son's joy. Ryan phoned one Wednesday evening, his tone signaling another costly request. "Mom, amazing news, Charlotte accepted." I had been examining quarterly figures in my study, but I set them aside. My son was engaged. Despite everything, the maternal part of me rejoiced. "Tell me the details," I urged, leaning back. For the next hour he recounted the proposal at that upscale Back Bay restaurant where I'd taken him after his MBA graduation, the ring that rivaled the price of many vehicles and Charlotte's delight. What he omitted was their plan for financing the celebration. That discussion arrived a month later. "The issue is, Mom," Ryan said, fingers tapping my kitchen island. "Charlotte's family expects a certain standard." I refilled his mug, recognizing the averted gaze I'd known since childhood. "What standard?" "Her sister's wedding was at the Four Seasons, 350 guests, exquisite. Her cousin married at the Taj. Charlotte has dreamed of something comparable forever." I stayed quiet. In negotiations, silence often wins the most. "The venues she likes run about $220,000 just for the basics," he rushed on. "Excluding flowers, entertainment, photos, everything else. $220,000, I echoed calmly. "I realize it's steep, but Mom, she's the one. I want to give her the day she deserves." "And what about what you deserve?" I wondered silently. "What about what I deserve after devoting my life to yours?" Yet his hopeful expression, still boyish at 32, pulled at the old maternal instinct. "Have you considered a more modest ceremony with her? You don't get it. Her family is loaded, Mom. Really loaded. Her dad runs Montgomery Properties." The irony stung. My son had no inkling that I'd been steadily accumulating shares in Reginald's firm for years, aiming for the majority stake my husband had always envisioned. "And you feel compelled to match their level?" "I want to be worthy of her," he said plainly. Those words cracked something inside me. I had raised him to know he was worthy of everything. How had I failed so badly that he believed love demanded a financial display? "Ryan, if she truly loves you, a simple ceremony would suffice." "Mom, please. I'm not asking you to cover it all, just help us launch. I'll repay you when my career gains traction." His career, fresh MBA, entry-level role at a mid-tier consulting firm, respectable salary but far from the lifestyle Charlotte's circle expected. How much help? Perhaps $280,000, $310,000 tops. The figure settled between us like an uninvited stranger. "That's more than most earn in a decade," I noted. "I know, but you're in a position to help. The business is strong, and after Dad's insurance." He trailed off, sensing the cruelty. My husband's death had indeed secured my financial security, but hearing my son casually quantify his father's life made my stomach turn. "I'll consider it," I told him. That night I sat in my husband's old study, gazing at his portrait. We had founded Montgomery Properties from one modest building, growing it into Boston's leading commercial real estate group. After his death, I had continued the expansion, making calculated purchases to fulfill his dream. "What would you do?" I asked the photo. I already knew. David had spoiled Ryan, unable to say no. It was our one major disagreement. The next day I called Ryan and agreed. Looking back now, standing in that restroom mirror after being insulted by my son's in-laws, I understood that single yes had ignited my shift, from devoted mother to someone far more formidable. Because come Monday I would be their superior. And unlike my son, they were about to discover my generosity had boundaries. Monday dawned with Boston's crisp fall bite, and I dressed for authority. Tailored charcoal suit, simple pearls, hair in the severe chignon that had unnerved executives for 2 decades. At 9 o'clock sharp I entered the Montgomery Properties boardroom. Reginald sat fidgeting like a schoolboy. "Mrs. Montgomery." He rose hastily, hand extended. "Thank you for meeting so soon." "Mr. Montgomery," I replied, claiming the head chair that was mine by right. "We should clarify a few things first." I opened my portfolio and placed the folder of certificates, resolutions, and legal records proving my 51% ownership. "As of last week, I hold controlling interest. This is my boardroom. You report to me." Reginald's expression flickered through shock, denial, and barely restrained fear. Mrs. Montgomery, surely there's a mistake. This firm has belonged to my family for generations. Built on capital and land from my husband's grandfather in 1954. I corrected. Your grandfather was the minority partner. The agreements are explicit. I slid copies of the original documents across the table. Records I had hunted through archives and private holdings over years. Your family has managed well while holding minority shares. But when my husband died, his stake passed to me. I've quietly bought more whenever possible. This can't be, Reginald breathed, hands trembling as he scanned the pages. The real surprise, I said, allowing a faint smile, is that you never noticed. Your own board approved my placements. Your CFO answers to me. Your counsel takes my calls. He looked up in horror. What do you want? First, a genuine apology from your daughter for her conduct at the reception. Charlotte is high-spirited. She meant no harm. She called me a sow in front of 250 guests, including my son. She's 29 and married. Old enough for accountability. I leaned in. Here's the plan. Charlotte will phone me today with a sincere apology, not because you instructed her, but because she grasped that respect is non-negotiable. Second, we're overhauling employee benefits. Your current package is inadequate for a firm this size. It was accurate. Montgomery Properties had 350 staff, yet health coverage was subpar and retirement provisions almost non-existent. The upgrades will cost roughly $2.2 million yearly, I continued. Call it my commitment to ethical operations. $2.2 million? Reginald's voice cracked. Your margins support it. I produced another file, detailed financial review I'd ordered months before. Third, your son-in-law Ryan receives a promotion to senior analyst with matching compensation. He's capable when focused. I didn't realize Ryan worked here. He starts Tuesday. Reginald gaped as if I declared myself governor. Mrs. Montgomery, I must consult my team, my lawyers. Your lawyers reviewed it all last week. They're diligent. I closed my case with a click. Benefits announcement Thursday. Charlotte's apology today. Ryan's promotion immediate. I paused at the door. One last thing, Mr. Montgomery. Next time your family discusses the ordinary widow your daughter married into, mention that widow now controls your primary income source. Reginald's mouth worked soundlessly. Enjoy your day, I said brightly, stepping into my new domain. By noon my assistant had fielded 7 calls from various Montgomerys, 3 from their attorney, and a frantic voicemail from Charlotte. Mrs. Montgomery, it's Charlotte, Ryan's wife. Dad explained there's been a misunderstanding about the company. I hope we can talk as family. I played it twice, noting the careful sidestep around the insult. At 2:15 she called again, voice unsteady. Mrs. Montgomery, my remarks at the reception were out of line. I was anxious meeting Ryan's family and spoke carelessly. I hope you can forgive. Still no real remorse. At 4:45 the third call. Please call me back. We started off badly and I want to fix it. Ryan's worried. Dad's an estate. I erased them all. Tuesday at 8 a.m. Reginald appeared at my office door exhausted. Mrs. Montgomery, please. Charlotte is distraught. She's young, she aired. Surely we can settle this reasonably. I motioned to the chair. Mr. Montgomery, let me clarify reasonable conduct. When someone funds your daughter's entire wedding, venue, catering, decor, everything, reasonable conduct includes gratitude, or at least civility. You covered every cent. $312,000, I said, spreading the invoices Ryan had sent the previous night. Would you like to review them? Reginald paled with each item. She had no idea, he murmured. No, because your family judges people by appearances without facts. I walked to the window overlooking Boston's skyline. What fascinates me most is that your daughter could mock the woman who paid for her wedding because she assumed her family's wealth protected her. She could be vicious because she'd never faced repercussions. I turned with a smile that would unsettle predators. That ends now. By Thursday, the benefits announcement had rippled through Montgomery Properties and Boston's business circles. Margaret wasn't merely the new CEO. She was the new authority, enforcing change. The first confirmation came Wednesday evening when Ryan called, voice strained with confusion and unease. Mom, Charlotte's dad offered me a position today. Senior analyst, $95,000 plus benefits. It's incredible, but it feels off like pity. And Charlotte's been distant since the wedding. She keeps probing about our finances. I smiled into the receiver. Did you accept? Yes, it's nearly double my old salary. But Mom, did you arrange this? Ryan, you're intelligent with an MBA and solid skills. Perhaps Mr. Montgomery simply saw your value. Right, he said skeptically. Mom, is there something about the Montgomery family you're not saying? Ask your wife. She may have insight. Thursday morning my assistant relayed that Eleanor Montgomery requested a lunch meeting. The woman who had stood mute while her daughter insulted me now wanted to talk. Tell her tomorrow noon at the Boston Harbor Hotel private room. Friday was overcast and damp, matching my mood as I waited in the refined dining space. Eleanor arrived on time, attired in quiet luxury. Elizabeth, she said warmly, as though we were longtime acquaintances, thank you for meeting. I've been eager to know you better. Eleanor, I replied, indicating the seat. Lovely to see you. She eased into small talk, whether the restaurant's renowned before reaching the point. Elizabeth, I want to address the reception incident. Charlotte can be rash when stressed. She was overwhelmed and spoke thoughtlessly. Rash? I repeated. Is that the term? She's deeply regretful. She intended to apologize personally but feared worsening matters. I sipped my water, watching her composure waver. Yet she phoned my office 3 times without a true apology. Eleanor's smile twitched. She's intimidated by your accomplishments. Reginald explained your remarkable career. My husband and I built it together. I've carried his vision forward. Of course. And your recent changes at Montgomery Properties are generous. The benefits overhaul especially. Here it was the true purpose. Reginald appreciates your expertise, Eleanor continued. Though we're concerned about the financial strain of such rapid shifts. Are you challenging my decisions, Eleanor? No. Reginald has always managed conservatively. Abrupt large costs unsettle him. I leaned back. Eleanor, what do you know of my son? The question surprised her. Ryan seems charming, devoted to Charlotte. Devoted, perhaps excessively. Ryan exhausted his savings on her ring, borrowed for his suit. When that fell short of your family's expectations, he came to me. Eleanor's fork froze. $310,000. That's what your daughter's dream wedding cost. Not your money. Not Ryan's. Mine. Her color faded. I had no idea. No, because your family presumes anyone not displaying wealth has none. I placed a thin folder on the table. I've researched. Your husband's firm shows strong revenue. But after debt, overhead and expenses, margins are slim. Your lifestyle relies heavily on corporate credit and leveraged assets. Eleanor eyed the folder warily. Meaning your wealth is largely paper-based. Impressive in theory, fragile in practice. What are you implying? That I could replace your husband tomorrow with competent leadership, restructure debt, divest cherished assets. I smiled pleasantly as her reality fractured. Or Charlotte can call me tonight with a heartfelt apology for the reception insult. Not from fear, but because she recognizes that degrading someone is wrong, regardless of perceived status. Eleanor's hand shook on her glass. And if she does, we become family, and I protect family. I rose, napkin folded. But understand, Eleanor, I am not a dismissible widow. I am the person who now holds your family's future. I took the check. Lunch is on me. Regards to Charlotte. As I departed, I heard her dialing frantically. My phone pinged. Emergency board meeting Monday. Reginald requesting comprehensive financial review. I smiled into the Boston mist. Let them convene. I had preparations they couldn't foresee. I was only beginning. Charlotte's call arrived at 10:12 p.m. Friday as I relaxed with wine and my husband's favorite poetry collection. Her voice was subdued, stripped of arrogance. Mrs. Montgomery, it's Charlotte. I know it's late, but I couldn't wait. Good evening, Charlotte. I owe you a real apology, not the weak ones I've tried. She inhaled shakily. My comment at the reception was vicious and unjustifiable. Calling you a sow was cruel, especially after you funded our entire wedding. I repaid kindness with humiliation. I remained silent, letting her words linger. I've reflected on why I did it. I think I was terrified. Ryan speaks of you with such admiration. Your strength, your success, raising him alone after losing his father. I felt I could never compare. Interesting. This was more candid than anticipated. So when I saw you so composed, so elegant, I felt insignificant. Instead of handling my insecurity maturely, I attacked to feel superior. And how did that strategy fare? It failed completely. I hurt the person I should have thanked. Her voice cracked. Mrs. Montgomery, I don't deserve forgiveness, but I'm asking anyway. I want to be the wife Ryan deserves and the daughter-in-law you deserve. I sipped slowly. Her tone carried real regret, though perhaps driven more by circumstances than insight. Charlotte, thank you for the honesty about your reasons. Does this mean we can begin anew? We can try, I said cautiously. Trust rebuilds through deeds, not promises. Yes, anything to make amends. One question. At the reception, when you presented me to your family, you expected them to share your view of me. That suggests the insult was premeditated. Long pause. Yes, she whispered. I told them beforehand that Ryan's mother was overbearing, always meddling in our relationship. We've met twice, brief family dinners Ryan arranged. Total conversation time, under half an hour. I know. I was echoing what Ryan told me. The revelation struck hard. My son had been disparaging me to his fiancée, portraying me as intrusive long before I met her family. What exactly did Ryan say? That you struggled to release him. That you treated him like a kid. That you wielded money to keep control. Her voice was faint. I closed my eyes, feeling a deep fracture. The son I had nurtured had undermined me to rationalize accepting my aid, while rejecting my place in his life. Charlotte, thank you for the truth. That required bravery. Mrs. Montgomery, I see now that he was mistaken. You're not controlling, you're generous. Not interfering, you're devoted. I should have judged for myself. You should have. I moved to the window, city lights glittering. But Ryan is my son. His perspective weighs heaviest. He loves you, she insisted. He's just conflicted about accepting so much help without guilt. Perhaps. After the call, I sat in my husband's study, surrounded by memories, trying to reconcile the boy I knew with the man who had quietly sabotaged me. My husband's voice seemed to echo. You gave him everything he asked for instead of teaching him to earn. Ryan texted. Mom, Charlotte said she spoke with you. Can we all have dinner soon to clear the air? I stared at the screen before replying. We need to talk soon. Saturday at 8 a.m. my doorbell rang. Through the peephole. Reginald Montgomery, looking a decade older. Mrs. Montgomery, sorry for the early visit. I hoped for a private word before Monday. I led him to the living room, noting his glance at the elegant but unostentatious decor. Quality pieces, family photos, no flaunting. Coffee. He sat rigidly. Mrs. Montgomery, I'll be direct. I've called an emergency board meeting to clarify your plans for Montgomery Properties. My plans are straightforward. Operate a profitable, principled firm that values employees and community. The benefits alone at $2.2 million annually. Facility upgrades another $600,000. These aren't viable with current margins. I poured from the silver set that was my wedding gift. Reginald, what do you know of your firm's true finances? We're profitable, cautious, steady growth without risk. You're profitable but stagnant. You hold 42 prime Boston properties. Rental income should exceed current figures by 60%. I handed him coffee. The issue isn't profit, it's leadership. You run a modern portfolio with outdated methods. I've been in this industry 35 years, he said stiffly. And you've performed adequately. Adequately no longer suffices. I smiled without warmth. Regarding Monday's meeting, the board has 7 seats. 3 are my appointees. 2 honor my husband's legacy. That leaves you and your cousin Lawrence. He absorbed the math. Your emergency session will be enlightening. He set his cup down, trembling. What do you want from my family? What I've always wanted, respect. Not for wealth or position, but for me as a person deserving basic courtesy. I moved to the mantel, wedding photo beside Ryan's childhood pictures. Your daughter called me a sow at my son's wedding because she believed her family's money made her superior to the woman who paid for it. That casual cruelty exposes character. Charlotte is young. Old enough to marry. Old enough for consequences. I faced him. But she's not the core issue. The real problem is my son, who has told his wife I'm controlling and manipulative. My son who took $310,000 for his wedding while resenting the source. Family ties are complex. Yes. And Monday we simplify them. I escorted him out. Enjoy your weekend, Reginald. Regards to your family. As he drove off, I knew the real conflict was just starting. This time I would prevail. Monday's board meeting commenced at 9 o'clock in the Montgomery conference room. Reginald looking like a condemned man. Other members arrived puzzled, unaware they were witnessing a corporate overhaul. Thank you for the urgent session, I began, taking the head. First, allow me to introduce myself fully. I distributed binders with my credentials. MBA from Harvard, decades managing 8-figure portfolios, 18 years quietly acquiring Montgomery stock. I'm no grieving widow dabbling. I've built on my husband's foundation. Lawrence, Reginald's cousin and treasurer, coughed. Mrs. Montgomery, your background is strong, but this firm has thrived under family stewardship for 60 years. Thrived is generous. I presented the financial audit. Revenue flat 7 years. Margins declining since 2019. Retention 35% below benchmark. Faces sobered. You hold prime Boston real estate yet charge submarket rents to preserve relationships. Those relationships matter, Reginald protested. They've exploited your sentimentality for decades. I smiled coolly. Effective immediately. All leases reviewed and adjusted to market. Tenants pay fair value or relocate. That's not our way, Lawrence stammered. It's my way now. Robert Kim, my appointee, nodded. Mrs. Montgomery's assessment is accurate. The firm has underperformed. The benefits changes alone cost $2.2 million, Reginald pleaded. We can't sustain extravagance. Your family withdrew $1.9 million in executive pay last year for minimal contribution. Silence fell. Executive pay now performance-based. Marketing must deliver results or dissolve. Property management professionalize with oversight. You can't remove family, Lawrence objected. I can if they don't justify their roles. I gathered my materials. Meeting adjourned. Changes start tomorrow. Reginald called desperately. We need a vote. No. You need to grasp governance. I require compliance, not approval. As I left, I heard Lawrence whisper. How did we miss this? Simple, they were too comfortable to notice someone else amassing power. My phone buzzed. Ryan. Mom, can we have dinner tonight? Charlotte's really upset about her family. I felt the old pull of love versus resentment. He worried for his wife's feelings while ignoring mine. 7 o'clock, my house. It was time for the overdue conversation. Afternoon brought frantic calls from Montgomery's. I ignored most, but answered Eleanor at 3 o'clock. Elizabeth, we need to talk. The family is in chaos. Your family is finally facing accountability. This isn't only business, it's revenge for the wedding. If I wanted revenge, you'd already be ruined. I want respect. Since your family only responds to power, I'm using your language. What can we do? Learn to treat people with decency. After hanging up, I prepared for dinner with Ryan and Charlotte. The talk that would expose how my son truly viewed me. At 7 o'clock they arrived, both ashen. Charlotte's eyes swollen. Ryan wearing the guilty child look. Mom, thank you for seeing us. Always, darling. Dinner dragged through awkward chatter until I set my fork down. Ryan, we need to address something troubling me. His face blanched. What? Charlotte shared your comments about my character. Controlling, manipulative. He paled further, realizing she had told me. Mom, I was preparing her. For what? He glanced helplessly at Charlotte, who studied her plate. You've always been generous, maybe overly. I didn't want her to feel obligated if help came with conditions. What conditions? That we live by your rules. Cold settled in me. Name one time I've dictated your choices. You had thoughts on my major. I suggested business for practicality. You chose literature. I supported it. You dislike some girlfriends. The one who stole and cheated. You later agreed. He shifted uncomfortably. I wanted Charlotte to know she could decline help if it felt controlling. Except you both accepted it. $310,000 worth. We're grateful. No, Ryan, you're resentful. I stood. You wanted my money, not my involvement. My support, not my voice. A bank, not a mother. That's not fair. Then explain why your wife felt safe calling me a sow publicly, why she thought her family would laugh rather than recoil. Charlotte looked up, tears flowing. Because I repeated what Ryan said, that you used money to stay in his life when he wanted freedom. The air thickened. I see. I moved to the window. So my support for college, car, apartment, wedding, all manipulation, not love. Mom, that's not. It is. And you're correct. I have used money to preserve our bond. They stared in shock. But tomorrow that stops. What? Ryan's voice cracked. No more gifts, loans, bailouts. You're financially independent. Effective now. Charlotte panicked. Mrs. Montgomery, we never meant. You said my support was control. Problem solved. Ryan stood. This is insane. One rude remark and you cut us off. One remark? Your wife insulted me at your wedding while her family laughed, because you portrayed me as a burden to endure. I never said burden. You said I struggled to let go, treated you like a child, used money to manipulate. I counted on my fingers. What else is that? Ryan sank back, comprehending. Mom, I was managing expectations. Charlotte's family has money. I didn't want them thinking you were charity. So you made me sound like a manipulative widow instead of a supportive mother. That's not. It is. And you believed it. I poured wine with steady hands. When did my help become a burden? When did love become something to apologize for to your in-laws? Silence until Charlotte spoke. Mrs. Montgomery, Ryan was insecure about fitting in. He wanted to appear self-made, not reliant on a mother who provided so much. My family judges people who accept help. So you both were ashamed of my generosity because it highlighted your dependence to people whose opinion mattered more than mine. It's not. It is. I set the glass down. You wanted the perks of a successful mother without the social cost. Mom, please. Can we move on? We are moving on. Just not how you hoped. I pulled my phone, scrolled to my attorney. Calling Richard Langston, estate planning. What are you doing? Ryan asked nervously. Major changes to my will. Removing you as primary beneficiary. Redirecting to charity. Ryan's chair toppled as he stood. Mom, no. Richard answered. Margaret, twice in days? Richard, I'm altering my will. Son removed. Charitable foundation established. Ryan looked ill. This is extreme. Actions have consequences. Richard suggested a meeting. I'll call tomorrow. After disconnecting, I faced Ryan's stricken face. Mom, I messed up, but changing your will. You've accepted my help while resenting it. Encouraged your wife to see me as an obstacle. Allowed her family to mock me while staying silent. I can fix it. How? By finally being honest about why you resented my help. I don't. It wounded your pride. Every assistance reminded you you weren't as self-sufficient as you pretended. Instead of refusing or earning independence, you took it while discrediting the giver. That's exactly. I cleared plates. I love you, Ryan, but I'm done enabling a one-way relationship. What now? You experience real independence. And perhaps learn earning respect beats taking it for granted. I left them and called Richard back. Time for concrete changes. Tuesday brought fallout, but not from Ryan. At 7 a.m., Reginald called. Mrs. Montgomery crisis. 3 major tenants received 45% rent hike notices. They threatened to leave. Unfortunate. We'll replace them with market rate tenants. Johnson Group alone is 14% of income. They've paid 1980s rates for prime space while profiting. Time for fair value. You can't decide without board input. Controlling interest says otherwise. I hung up, reviewing plan changes. Rent adjustments, redundant roles eliminated, hierarchy streamlined. Second call. Eleanor at 8:45, near Hysteria. Elizabeth, Reginald said about the rents. You're dismantling the firm out of spite. I'm optimizing performance. Your family's discomfort with competence isn't my issue. This has gone too far. We know you were hurt by the wedding, but punishing everyone. Punishment hurts for past acts. Consequences follow choices. I parked at the office. Your family treated the firm as a personal fund. Hiring unqualified relatives, excessive pay, submarket rents. That's family business. That's why family businesses collapse. Inside, tension hummed. My assistant, Mr. Reginald, arrived at 7:15. Called senior staff meeting for 10 o'clock. Cancel. I handle staff communications. At 9 o'clock Reginald knocked, haggard. Mrs. Montgomery, what's your objective? Force my family out. Run an effective business. Adapt to standards and stay. Otherwise, I shrugged. What would resolve this? It needs completion, not resolution. I showed the new org chart. Redundant positions gone. Responsibilities by qualification, not relation. His son's marketing role vanished. Nephew's maintenance merged with contractor. His title general manager. You've dismantled everything. Streamlined. What would make you sell back to us? Even if you could afford it, which you can't, why sell a profitable firm to poor managers? It's our legacy. It was my husband's legacy. Your family mismanaged it. Text from Ryan. Mom, I've been thinking. Can we talk? I want to fix this. I showed Reginald. Your family isn't alone learning consequences. I explained Ryan's independence and will changes. You disinherited your son? Considering it. He must value our bond beyond finance. Harsh. Your daughter called me a sow. Your family laughed. My son primed her to see me as a burden. I'm 63. I've spent decades building, supporting, prioritizing others. No more being taken for granted. My assistant, Ryan in lobby, says urgent. Send him up. Reginald left. I braced for the next reckoning. Ryan entered with an envelope, expression humble and desperate. Mom, thank you. Sit. He placed the envelope. I was up all night. You were right. I resented your help because it bruised my pride. He pushed it forward. Look before we continue. Inside, bank statements, loan papers, correspondence. What is this? Proof I'm not just ungrateful, I'm a fraud. My blood chilled. Explain. The consulting job. I was terminated 6 months ago for falsified expenses. Car payments stopped in February. Repossession loomed until Reginald hired me. The apartment cards, even the ring money, loans using your name as cosigner. I forged your signature. How much? $92,000 unsecured. $35,000 car. Total $127,000. You've committed identity theft for months. I told myself it was short term. Once established with Charlotte's family, I'd repay before you knew. And the wedding money helped me float. I walked to the window breathing. So when you called me controlling, you described yourself. Yes. I projected. I saw him clearly. Not the accomplished man I thought, but a liar blaming others. This isn't just money. It's crimes. Federal offenses. I know. I've ruined everything. And exposed me legally. The loans are current with my new salary. Banks won't. If payments stop, I'm liable. I called Richard. Margaret again? My son confessed to identity theft, fraudulent loans using my name. $127,000 range. We need you now. An hour later at Richard's office he reviewed. Good news. We can avoid charges with quick action. Ryan relaxed slightly. Bad news. Margaret covers debts to protect credit. Total cost. $145,000 including penalties. We frame as family aid. And Ryan. Confession, repayment plan, 5-year monitoring, counseling for financial compulsion. I don't gamble, Ryan protested. Forging signatures to sustain unaffordable lifestyle is compulsion. Richard snapped. I gazed out at Boston. Prepare documents. I'll pay. Ryan complies. Ryan. Mom, I can't ask. You're not. I'm handling cleanup as always. Papers signed, framework set. Ryan's salary mostly to repayment. 8 years estimated. Leaving, Ryan asked, "What about Charlotte? Will you tell her? She deserves truth before marriage. She'll leave. Her choice based on facts." Back at the office, assistant Charlotte called repeatedly. Sounded upset. Mentioned finding financial papers in Ryan's office. Ryan paled. She found the hidden loans. An hour later, Charlotte sat sobbing in my office, Ryan defeated beside her. "I found applications with your signature, but handwriting mismatched wedding checks." "Ryan forged it," I confirmed. "How much?" "More than imaginable." Charlotte stared at Ryan. "Who are you?" "Not the man I married." "I'm the same." "No. The man I married was stable, successful. Not a liar hiding debt and crime." She paced. "I begged Dad to hire you to advance your career. You needed intervention, not promotion." "Charlotte, how long have you lied?" "Since dating." "Engagement." "Vows." She turned to me. "Mrs. Montgomery, I owe more than apology for the sow comment. I owe apology for marrying under false pretenses and pulling you into this. Charlotte, you funded our wedding, supported Ryan for years, now fix his crimes. I resented you for being too involved. Truth is, you weren't involved enough. Knowing his real character might have prevented this. What now? I want to go to my parents, pretend this never happened. But I can't. My family's business ties depend on this. Your marriage and business are separate. But Ryan works for Dad. If I leave, complications." I studied her, younger, more fragile than the reception version. Advice from 30 years of hard choices. Don't base marriage on business. Don't stay for convenience. Don't remain because leaving is messy. But if I leave, he loses job, home, everything. Not your burden. He's ill, this lying fraud. Not normal. He needs help, but you can't fix unwilling people. You can't love someone into being who you imagined. Charlotte eyed Ryan, who stared out the window. "I need time." After they left, I reflected on 6 days. From insulted mother to empowered woman who restructured a firm and uncovered her son's crimes. The old Elizabeth would have paid debts, concealed crimes, enabled dysfunction for scraps of affection. The new Elizabeth prioritized differently. Patricia called. "Elizabeth," Charlotte came home crying. "Won't explain. Reginald thinks you've ruined us. Your family ruins itself. I refuse to enable." "What does that mean?" "Consequences. Something you've dodged for decades." "We know you're upset about the wedding." I laughed. "You frame it as my anger, not your behavior. Anger signals boundaries crossed long ago." "What now?" "Your family earns instead of expects. Charlotte learns marriage needs truth. Reginald learns business needs skill. Ryan learns crimes cost. You're destroying us. I'm exposing what you built versus what you pretended." I hung up, gazing at Boston streets. 6 days ago. Called a sow today. Woman who claimed her power. The old me would call it tragedy. The new me called it awakening. Text from Charlotte. "Mrs. Montgomery, thank you for truth today. Staying with parents while I process. Hope we talk when simpler." I replied, "Take time. You're stronger than you think." Boston kept moving. Ambition and consequence intertwined. For the first time in years, I felt part of the dance, not sidelined. It's never too late to stop being taken for granted, even by yourself. Thanks for listening. Drop your location below, like, subscribe, and share your own stories in the comments. Your experiences matter.